Welcome to Woodshop Project. Today we're going to be showing you how to build a cross-cut sled for your table saw. So to start off with, I've got here a 48 by 48 or 4 foot by 4 foot sheet of mahogany plywood. It doesn't have to be mahogany, it can be whatever kind of plywood you want. It's just what my local hardware store had for a great deal for the size that I needed. So but you want to go at least 3/4 of an inch. You could probably get away with 5/8, but I wouldn't go much smaller than that, only because you don't want a lot of flex and you don't want a lot of warpage. As well as I have a strip here of oak. Now, again, don't have to go with oak, but you definitely want a hardwood. You want something that's not going to have a lot of contrast and expansion due to humidity. So yeah, that's all you need to start with, and that's all I actually used to build the whole thing with. So first of all, I ripped it down to 34 inches wide. Then I ripped it down again to 30 inches long. So it gives you a total deck size of 34 by 30. Next thing I did was I ran the strips through the table saw. So just measure your little runners here. I believe mine were about 3/4 of an inch, and that's pretty universal. And I believe it's by 3/8 of an inch thick. Again, fairly universal, but just double check with your table saw, make sure it's not any different. You want it to be snug in these runners. You do not want a lot of play, otherwise you're going to get some binding in your sled. So just try to get it as snug as possible, but you don't want it to be difficult to slide through. So next step is, once you've got your runners cut, and keep in mind they are 30 inches long, same as your sled. Lay down your sled to where you want it. Now I have mine set off to the so there's more on the right side than there is on the left, only because that way it gives you a little bit more clamping area. Next thing I did was I used my speed square. I drew some lines as to the middle of the runners, and that way I carried it all the way down with my 4-foot level. Drew a straight line, and that way I know where I can drill my holes. I'm not going to miss my runners. Next, you want to use a countersink bit to countersink all your screws. 4 or 5 screws in each runner is fine. There you can see I've countersunk them all. You got to make sure they're countersunk, otherwise they'll catch you on your material though, and it could cause material to raise up if it's not countersunk, which means it won't be flat, which means it won't cut straight. Next thing I did, and keep in mind this sled only took me not even a full day. I started it Friday after work, and I finished up Saturday morning. The longest part was the gluing. Of course, I had to wait for the glue to cure. But basically what I did was I ripped 4 pieces of my off scrap from my 48 by 48 piece, 4.5 inches wide by 27 inches long. 4 of them, that way I glued them back to back on both sides. Let's see here. And this will form your handles afterwards. You want something good and thick, so either use a very thick piece of wood, or do what I've done here. Now I've got 1.5 inches worth of material here to grab onto. Now it's a good solid piece that I'm dealing with. So I glued that up, I let it sit for the night, and this is what it was in the morning. And that's your handles. Now what I did here is I drew, and this actually isn't a correct picture because I actually ended up using a coffee mug instead of a can to create my radius. I went 7 inches in from the end and 2 inches down from the top, and I created my radius, as well as, and I used my small speed square to draw my line from 2 inches down, and this is what I finished up with. So I did this on both pieces, cut it out with a jigsaw. That's what it looks like when it's cut out. That's what it looks like when it's all done up. And then I ran it through my router with a rounded bit, and that allows for a couple things. First of all, it allows a little bit of a dust track underneath to get the sawdust out of your way, as well as it makes it a little bit softer of a surface for your hands when you're pushing the sled through. So as you can see, it doesn't show very well. The next picture actually shows better the radius that I did here. There you can see. So nice little finished edge for you. Next thing I did was you lay the sled down in your runners. Started about 3/4 of the way. Slowly raise up the blade till there's about one tooth height through, and then push your sled through. Now, very important here: do not go all the way through your wood. Stop about 1 inch, 2 inches away from the end. This way, it'll make everything stay true and where it's supposed to be while you get the last pieces set up. It just makes your life a whole lot easier. So the next step is to attach the handles to the sled. Basically what you do is you start off by clamping one side down, make sure it's flush with the edge of the plywood, countersink and drill your hole from underneath. Now the next step is, there you can see the countersunk screw. Now take a piece of offcut, the same width as the kerf of your blade. So mine was just under 1/8 of an inch. And stick it in the track. Use the biggest square you can. I prefer to use a speed square, but you can use whatever kind of square you like. And make sure that you've got, as you can see here, I've got 0 space from here against the fence. If you do have a little bit of a space, this is why you only have one side screwed down. That way you can use a hammer or a mallet and be able to tap that the other side of the handle to make sure that you've got it square here. And then once you've got that, you can then drill your holes. You want to put 4 or 5 holes in each one. Sorry, 4 or 5 screws in each one. And then once that's done, you can attach the other side. The other side doesn't have to be calibrated. So you just make sure it's flush with the plywood and screw it and attach it. And that's all there is to it. You're all said and done. This is what my finished sled looked like. It works like a hot darn. I ended up carrying my line back a little bit further. This wasn't a finalized picture. So the kerf actually starts here and obviously goes right through the handle. Now's when you can run it through to create your hole through. So after doing my first test piece, you can see here that I'm dead square, which is exactly the way I like to be. There's no space here. You can see here again, so the piece of wood that I cut is underneath my speed square, and you can see there's no wood showing. Dead square. I like dead square. Just another picture. So thank you very much for hopefully this cleared everything up for you. It's very easy to do. If you have any questions or comments, by all means, please comment below. And if you haven't already, check out www.woodshopproject.com for more techniques and different products and reviews and such. So have yourself a great day. Bye now.